everybody, and welcome back to Scale Modeling Tutorials. This is episode 7 and we're going to look at a really cheap and easy method of straight line masking. Of course, if you haven't guessed by now, we're going to use cigarette papers. So when it came to masking my first straight lines on this Messerschmitt, what I did first was I just used normal masking tape, but I found there are a couple of problems with it. First of all, I got some bleed under the edges. So when I tried to make sure that the masking tape was stuck down firmly enough, when it comes to taking it off, I took a big chunk of the paint with it, which was frustrating to say the least. So rather than start scouring the internet for all these different types of masking tape, what I decided on was cigarette papers, as they seemed perfect for masking straight lines. So I gave the method a go, and this is how I got on. I started by applying a little bit of water to the area where I wanted to mask off, and then sticking the gum side of the paper down directly to the water. You can use these papers whole or cut them into strips if you've got a finer area to mask. So I had the box up in front of me so I could check on the pattern that I wanted to achieve. So the key to this method really is allowing the water, once you've painted, to get back into the paper and break down the gum that holds the paper down to the model. So in many cases it's good to leave the paper as holes because it allows like a wick for the water to get back in. But in tight spaces it's still easy enough to use strips cut off the front of the paper. Make sure you cut off the gum side. But don't paint directly over all of the paper so the water can't get back into it. Once you've masked off the areas to the pattern that you require, it's time to start applying the paint. Apply as you usually would, just with a little bit of thinned down paint. Just make sure again that you don't paint over the entire mask so the water can't get back into it and free it up later on. So to remove the masking, just take a brush with some water on it and wet each piece of the mask. Allow the water to soak in for just a second and then just peel it straight back. You'll find that the edges do stick, but the paint cuts beautifully along the straight edge. Of course, doing it this way is slightly more fiddly than just peeling back masking tape, but once you see the results and you're not going to pull paint off from underneath on pre-painted surfaces, I think the effort's worth it. Now, where I've found this method particularly useful is on the hulls of ships. The way I tend to do it is I'll paint one half in the base colour, then mask off, take my time to get the other half painted really well and get the finish really nice, let it dry off, remove the masking and reverse the process. So mask the part that I've got correct and then go over the base colour. If you find that the papers are riding up or aren't sitting correctly, then just use water on a paintbrush to draw a line across the paper, and it'll take the tension out of it and allow the paper to bend around the model and sit nice and flush. I've used this technique a few times now. In the bottom right there is the Titanic hull. Now that hull has lots of features on it and lots of bumps, and even with that the masking still worked. There was a slight bit of bleed where the features on the mould poke out underneath the paper, but I found that if I just took my time and did the double mask, so mask the top first, then paint, then mask the bottom to paint off again, that the method worked really well. Now I'm happy with the copper finish on the bottom of the cutty circle. It's time to wet the papers and peel back the masking. The papers are really delicate after you've wet them, so they will tear away at the edge of the paint, but that's easy enough to rectify. Just scrub at it with a wet, stiff paintbrush and it will peel back. If you need to use the back of your scalpel, just run it along the line and the paper will peel away and reveal the nice sharp line for the paint. Once you've repeated the process on the top and bottom, you'll find you get a really good defined sharp line. And I really like this method because it's cheap, it's easy, it's a little bit messy, but at least you're not going to ruin the model by pulling off lots of paint with some mask. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Scale Modelling Tutorials. Please do check out the Facebook or the Reddit groups, whichever one you like. The links are in the description. And if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any suggestions on how to make more or how to make them better, please do comment. Please do leave me a like or a comment, it really helps with the video, and if you've really liked it and you want to see the rest, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one.